Hi guys, it's Ashley from Living with Miso, and today I'm here to answer some of the questions you guys have about college and university. Most of the questions I have that are unanswered in my inbox are about college and university because it's the season for that, school just started, and I figured what better of a place to film this video than in front of my wall of certificates and my diploma that I recently got from college, which I graduated from in May. So I figured that I could give you guys some tips about how I coped all the way through college, about accommodations, about dealing with classmates, about dealing with triggers and all that fantastic stuff. That's super fun, as we all know. So here we go. Also, my voice sounds weird because I am recovering from a cold. I'm a nanny right now and some of the boys I nanny gave me a cold. Also, my nails are a mess because, as I said, I'm a nanny, and when a 9-year-old girl paints your nails and you don't have nail polish remover, this is the result. So let's just jump right into it with coping. I've got a few tips of things that I personally did while I was in college that helped me cope with my misophonia. I was in college for a year and a half, and so one of the best coping tools I found was white noise. So I downloaded a white noise app on my phone, and I got permission from my teacher to wear earbuds in class. So I got to listen to the white noise, and I turned it up just enough that I could still hear my teacher instructing, but it also blocked out all the sounds behind me, all the sounds in front of me, all the sounds around me. And white noise is a fantastic coping mechanism. I love white noise. I would highly recommend it if you haven't given it a try. It's really great. So another way I coped was that I went to the store and I picked up some cheap Kleenex and some cheap pens. And they had caps so they don't click, because pen clicking was a big trigger of mine in school. So I gave my classmates little pens and little Kleenexes, and I asked them, could you please use these instead? Could you please blow your nose? Blah, 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 blah. And it was really, really cheap to pick up at the store. It was fantastic, and most of them were really, really good about it. So another way of coping is to just kind of try your best to eliminate the triggers in general, because that's what I found worked for me a lot of the time. So another good coping technique is to strategically pick your seat. So it depends on what your biggest triggers are, whether they're visual or audio. So what you want to do is, if you have really bad visual triggers, maybe sit at the front of the class so you can't really see the rest of your classmates doing things that'll trigger you. And if you have really bad audio triggers, try to sit at the back, because I find that noises coming from behind me are more triggering than noises coming from in front of me. So if you have a really bad reaction to hearing trigger noises, you may want to sit in the back to try and eliminate your reaction to those noises. I also like to recommend that people bring stress balls or things that you can just squeeze in your hand when you're triggered. It kind of lets out the aggression without letting it out on your environment and other people. So my second set of tips are about accommodations. My friend Steph, also known on Tumblr as Power to the Octopus, wears an FM system in class, so she wears a headset that is connected to a microphone that the teacher wears on their shirt. And so it kind of lets her listen to what the teacher is saying while also blocking out all the sounds that are happening around her from her classmates. So that is an amazing accommodation that you can get with a diagnosis at most colleges and universities, I'm sure. Another good accommodation, as I mentioned before, is priority seating, which you can also get through the disabilities office. And ooh, the lighting changed. Sorry, there's a cloud. Which you can also get through the disability service, and it lets you get priority seating either in the front of the classroom or in the back of the classroom, depending on your situation with triggers. Another really handy accommodation you can get is for the teachers to allow you to take tests and exams in a separate room from everybody else. I went to a really small community college. We didn't have a disability services, but I explained misophonia to my teacher, and she did let me take tests and exams in other rooms, or when she was done instructing and she gave us work to do, I put up my hand like, can I please go to a different room? And she's like, oh yeah, for sure. And so I had like this tiny little room, and it was all mine, and it was so cute. But it made it so much easier to get my work done. It made it so much easier to do everything, and I would highly, highly recommend either getting a diagnosis to bring to your university, or just opening up about misophonia to your teachers and professors and the disability services office, because I'm sure they'll understand. If you come in with resources, if you come in with examples, I'm sure they'll understand. So one of the ways I educated my classmates on misophonia was making a poster. And it's a poster about misophonia. It has a bunch of definitions and stuff. I'll give you guys a detailed walkthrough in just a minute. But we hung that in the classroom, and it was kind of a good reminder because anytime I was being triggered or I had to ask somebody for help, I could just kind of, or like if somebody new came into the class, I could be like, hello, my name is Ashley. If you ever see me acting really strangely, that's why. Read that poster up on the wall. It's very informational. So on my misophonia poster, I have the definition, some ways that kids can cope in the classroom, some general rules like no food in class, no gum in class, if asked to stop making a noise or movement, please stop. More coping mechanisms, and the symptoms ranging from mild to severe. So having this in the classroom was really a huge help, and I definitely recommend making one if your teacher or professor will allow it. Another thing I did, when I was going through periods that my triggers were really bad and my mental health was not fantastic and it was really hard and I was really struggling, I did PSAs for my class. Most commonly, I did them when I was presenting them with pens or Kleenex, and I, handed them out, and I was like, okay, so you guys are lovely, I love you, you're fantastic people, I like you, but my brain doesn't, and this is why. And that's how I explained it, like, it's nothing personal, I like you guys, my brain doesn't. Next piece of advice I have has to do with self-advocacy, which I know is hard. I have a really bad time with it most of the time. I really don't like confrontation. I shy away from it. But recently, thanks to my friend Steph, again, power to the octopus, I decided to make these Misophonia cards that she has. And so mine on the front says Misophonia 4S, Selective Sound Sensitivity Syndrome. It has a link to my blog and also a link to the Misophonia Association. And on the back it says about misophonia. Misophonia is a neurological condition caused by a malfunction in the brain. When someone with misophonia hears a trigger sound, their brain throws the body into panic, triggering the fight or flight response. This causes symptoms such as sweating, heart racing, severe anxiety, and strong negative emotions. Common trigger sounds include gum chewing, eating noises, coughing, sniffling, clicking, and almost anything to do with the mouth and nose. And so these are fantastic to have as a resource, they're fantastic to give away, because if you don't really want to explain it, you can just hand them a card and be like, please read this is what I have. It explains a lot. And so it's really handy, especially if you kind of want somebody to remember it, if you're going to come in contact with them a lot, and so you can give them a card and they can keep it in their wallet. And that way, hopefully, they won't forget about it, because I know that if something doesn't immediately concern you, you may not remember the information, and that's totally fair, I get it. But when it's somebody that you're gonna come in contact with frequently, these will be really handy. These will be a lifesaver. They're fantastic, would highly recommend. I made them on Vistaprint. I'll put the link in the description below. Another good tip for self-advocacy is to know what you're talking about, so that if somebody asks you about misophonia or they have any questions, you can answer them. Like, you can be on point with your knowledge, you can sound confident in what you're saying, you can sound confident in what you're explaining, because the more confident you sound and the more details you can give, the more likely the other person is to believe you, which is fantastic. So this is my grad cap, which I know at times throughout my year and a half in college, I didn't feel like I would ever get. Sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, it was extremely difficult, it was extremely hard. I tried my best to advocate for myself, I tried my best to power through it, because I knew that it would eventually end and the outcome was going to be the grad cap, the certificates, the diploma, and all my work really showed off in the end, and it was really hard, and a lot of neurotypical students will never really grasp or realize exactly how difficult it is to survive in school when you have a mental illness or you have misophonia, and it's insanely hard and they'll never really understand. And so a big tip that I have is to find a support system. Luckily, all throughout school, I had amazing friends who encouraged me to keep going on days when I didn't want to, encouraged me to go to class, and really reminded me why I was there in the first place. Because I went to school for community support work, and my career goal at the time was to work with children and adolescents with mental health problems, so that maybe if I could do something to make a difference in their lives, they wouldn't have to struggle like so many kids do, or they wouldn't have to have such a hard time as I did or some of my friends did going through high school or college or university. It really makes a difference when you have something that you're passionate about that you're there for, and you have a support system. I'm so grateful for them because without my friends, I couldn't have graduated with distinction, I couldn't have become the valedictorian of my class, I couldn't I couldn't have done anything, any of that, and I'm so grateful for them every single day. I also just want to share some general tips. Knowing when you need a break is extremely important because the more you push yourself, the more you're going to wear yourself out. You're not going to perform as well, your mental health is going to suffer. I know this because I did it. Sometimes I don't realize when I need a break and then I push myself and my mental health suffers for it. So knowing when you need a break is so important, and taking those breaks is even more important. Mental health days are completely acceptable. Despite what the media may tell you, if you need a day to figure out your mental health, take it. Like, mental health days are so valuable and so vital, especially when you're in college or university or high school and you're stressed and you have so much on your mind. Neglecting your mental health could make everything so much worse. So taking mental health days are fantastic. If you need to take a mental health day, do it. Like, it will benefit you so much. And so to conclude, I'm a mess. I really identify with that Tumblr post. I'm not even a person. I'm 4 mental illnesses stacked on top of each other wearing a trench coat. That is me, that is my life. But I'm a mess with certificates and a diploma and a career in my future, and I know that you guys, no matter what your life situation right now, even if it's a mess like my life, you can do it too, and you can change whatever circumstance you came from and make it so you have a bright and hopeful future. And I know you guys can do it because you're so strong. And I want you guys to know that if I can do it, you can do it. If you can do it, I can do it. We're all here to support each other. This is an amazing community, and I'm so grateful for Tumblr and this entire community it's created. And I just want it to be a supportive and educational place. And I just know everybody in this community can do whatever they set their minds to do, because the feeling of all your hard work paying off is indescribable. So I hope this video helped some of you out there. If it did, feel free to like and reblog so other people can see it as well. And hopefully this makes school a little bit easier. I know it's gonna be hard anyway, but hopefully you can take something from this video or find a way to make it easier for yourself.